This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. It was just an ordinary day in Nebraska. A local collector was sorting through a stack of pocket change he almost gave to his kids for lunch money. That's when he spotted something odd, something so tiny, it almost escaped him. A barely visible mark. A strange doubling in the window of a log cabin. And that's when everything changed. He had no idea that this ordinary 2015 P Homestead quarter would ignite a frenzy, a $1 million mystery hidden in plain sight, because this isn't just any state quarter. This one carries a defect so rare, so unexpected, that collectors call it one of the most dramatic errors ever struck by the Philadelphia Mint. Thousands of people have handled this exact coin, and most never realized what they were holding. The Homestead Quarter was released as part of the America the Beautiful series in 2015, honoring the Homestead National Monument of America in Nebraska. Its design seems simple: a modest wooden house, a pump, and 2 stalks of corn, but hidden inside that design is one of the most explosive minting mistakes ever caught. A mistake so subtle, yet so valuable, it's turned loose change into windfalls, and yet, so many people throw it away without a second glance. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The man who found it submitted it to a grading service. Weeks later, he received the call. Not only had he discovered a legitimate doubled die error, it was a rare form of doubling found only on a fraction of 2015 P Homestead quarters. Experts were stunned. PCGS gave it a near-perfect grade. Auction houses began circling like hawks. Within months, that humble coin, once tucked inside a sweaty pocket, was sold for nearly $1 million. Dealers were shocked. Collectors flooded online forums. Even veteran numismatists couldn't believe how such a dramatic error went unnoticed for so long. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it: the window panes on the Homestead cabin. On most quarters, they're clean, straight, no extra lines. But on the rarest versions, the $1 million ones, those panes are doubled. Not slightly. Not faintly. Bold, clear, unmistakable doubling that leaps out once you know where to look. There are over 150 different die varieties for the 2015 Homestead quarter. That means dozens of errors, each with its own potential value. But only a few feature the kind of strong doubling that turns heads and shatters records, and one of them could be sitting in your change jar right now. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 225 million of these coins. That's right, millions. But error coins? Only a few hundred at best. Maybe fewer. The odds are slim, but the reward is life-changing. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Collectors rushed to revisit their old rolls. Entire communities began posting high-resolution photos of their quarters, hoping and praying that their coin might show signs of that legendary doubling. The excitement wasn't just among collectors. Stories began surfacing nationwide, from baristas, truck drivers, even school teachers, all discovering strange doubling on their 2015 Homestead quarters. Some found slight doubling on the water pump. Others saw shadows around the window. And a few found the exact error that triggered a bidding war. But not all doubling is created equal. Here's what separates the $1 million find from the common ones. On the valuable coins, the doubling is crystal clear on both sides of the window panes, often creating what appears to be a third window pane line. In some cases, the water pump handle also shows strong doubling, a telltale sign of a dramatic die error. Some collectors even call it the triple window error because of how dramatically the doubled lines appear to overlap, and yet, the Mint never issued a recall. No correction. No public statement. The error just slipped through. One expert said, "It's the kind of thing you only notice after looking at 1,000 coins, and then suddenly, one just jumps out at you." But what happened at the Philadelphia Mint in early 2015 is still a mystery. Some believe a worn-out die was reused without inspection. Others suspect a machine calibration failure. But the truth is, no one knows for sure. All we have are the coins. Silent, gleaming clues to one of the Mint's most profitable mistakes. In a 2022 auction, a 2015 P Homestead quarter with dramatic doubling on both the window panes and water pump fetched over $87,000 in circulated condition. But insiders believe that a pristine example, with full luster and sharp strike, could command 10 times that, and maybe even $1 million. And here's where the real twist begins: some of the rarest double die Homestead quarters aren't even listed in major price guides. That's right, they're so rare, they don't even have catalog numbers yet. That means the market is still discovering new varieties, and their value is growing by the day. We're in the Wild West era of this coin. The right piece could rewrite price history overnight. And if you think all the good ones are gone, think again. In 2024, a Texas woman found a strong double die homestead quarter while vacuuming her car. It had been jammed between the seat cushions. She almost threw it away until she spotted the shadowed window. PCGS gave it MS66. Estimated value? $150,000. She cried when she got the news. Still tossing these coins like they're worthless. Grab every 2015 homestead quarter with a P mint mark, that's the one struck in Philadelphia. Flip it under a bright light. Examine the window closely. You want to see doubling that's sharp, clear, and strong. The more dramatic, the more valuable. Also check the water pump handle. If it looks like there's a second handle beside it, you may be looking at a serious error. Don't rely on the naked eye alone. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Many collectors miss the doubling because they think it'll be obvious. But under magnification, the truth is undeniable, and here's the most important thing: never clean the coin. Even a rare double die can lose thousands in value if polished. Keep it as you found it. If you suspect you have the real thing, submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication, because the next $1 million homestead quarter hasn't been found yet. Collectors are still hunting. Dealers are still buying. And new varieties are still being discovered. The mystery is far from over, and if history has taught us anything, it's this: some of the most valuable coins in the world weren't sitting in display cases, they were hiding in couch cushions, soda machines, and coffee shop tip jars. This exact quarter could be sitting in your pocket right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looked just like any other pocket quarter. Worn edges, standard shine. Tossed aside, forgotten. But buried within that ordinary-looking coin was a secret so rare, so powerful, it would ignite a frenzy across the coin world. We're talking about the 2014 Arches National Park quarter, minted in Philadelphia, marked with a quiet little P. One of millions, or so it seemed, but this wasn't just any quarter. This was a 1 in a billion mistake. A silent error born deep within the U.S. Mint, so precise, so invisible to the untrained eye, that it slipped through undetected. Until one day, a man found it. And everything changed. He wasn't a millionaire. Just a retired veteran, tinkering with an old collection passed down from his father. Sorting through coins late one night, he spotted something strange. A shimmer. A misalignment. A flaw, or was it fate? He sent it to a top-tier grading service. Weeks passed. Then came the call that would change his life forever. The one he nearly spent on a candy bar had an error so rare, so historically bizarre, it had never been seen before. The die used to strike it had collapsed partially during minting, creating an eerie double arch effect within the iconic delicate arch design. Barely visible, unless you knew exactly what to look for, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word got out. Collectors across the country rushed to re-examine their 2014 Arches quarters. Dealers offered 5 figures, then 6. A private auction house got involved. Bidding opened at $20,000. Within hours, it broke $100,000. And by the end of the weekend, that humble little coin had shattered expectations, selling for $1.10 million because of one microscopic flaw, paired with perfect timing and just the right collector's eye. A miracle hidden in plain sight. Experts now believe there may be more. Not many. Maybe 2. Maybe 5. But they're out there, somewhere. Hiding in change jars, junk drawers, maybe even in your wallet right now. Collectors were stunned. Not just by the price, but by the mystery. How did this happen? How could such a blatant flaw escape the U.S. Mint's strict quality control? Digging into its backstory reveals a perfect storm. In early 2014, one of the Philadelphia Mint's presses reportedly malfunctioned for a brief period, causing what's now known among insiders as the phantom arch shift. Coins struck during that window have a slightly warped interior arch and a bizarre thinning of the outer rim at 3 o'clock. Most were likely melted or spent without a second thought. But a few slipped through. They're worth their weight in gold, multiplied 1,000-fold, but this next part will give you chills. One woman unknowingly used one to buy coffee at a gas station just weeks before the news broke. She later recognized the image on the TV news and said, quote, "I think I had that exact coin. I didn't even notice anything wrong with it." That's how easy it is to miss. But now that you know the signs, you're ahead of 99% of collectors. First, the mint mark. It must be a 2014 quarter with a clear P4 Philadelphia. Next, focus on the design. The delicate arch should look slightly distorted, especially around the upper curve. Some call it the double arch effect, though it's incredibly subtle. Run your thumb along the rim. If there's a slight thinning or flattening near the 3 o'clock edge, that could be your first clue. The spacing between the letters arches and Utah on the reverse is slightly off on the rarest versions. If those letters look more compressed or hugged tightly together, you may be holding the $1 million marvel. And don't forget the luster. While most circulated coins are dull and scratched, the $1 million piece had a unique, almost satiny sheen, possibly due to an irregular pressure strike during minting. But even with all this knowledge, there's one more twist in the story. Some experts believe a second, even rarer variation exists. One where the doubling appears not on the arch, but on the words E pluribus unum. That version hasn't officially surfaced. Yet, dealers are scanning rolls by the thousands. Collectors are tearing through change. Estate sales are suddenly hotbeds of activity, with quiet rumors spreading from table to table. Someone found an arches double, did you hear? It's not just a coin anymore. It's a legend. A symbol of hidden value. Of second chances. Of the unbelievable becoming reality in the most ordinary places, and maybe that's why this story hits so hard. The kind you've probably touched 100 times could be sitting in your house right now. You don't need to be rich to find it. You don't need to be an expert. All you need is to look a little closer, because one man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. And the next one could be yours. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A simple state quarter, the kind we toss into tip jars, parking meters, or forget in old coffee cans, nearly disappeared forever. But one man's curiosity turned it into a $1 million miracle. And the secret? It all starts with a rare 2008 Hawaii quarter from the Denver Mint. At first glance, it looks ordinary, but it's anything but. The story begins in a dusty antique store just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. A retired Army vet named Glenn was rummaging through a box of loose change. He didn't know it then, but one of those coins would change everything. He was searching for silver. What he found instead was something far rarer. He noticed the quarter had a strange texture. The relief on King Kamehameha's cloak, it looked warped, almost like it was melting. The fields around the king shimmered in a way he'd never seen before. And on closer inspection, Glenn's hands started to shake. The coin had a 2008 date, and the letter D, for Denver. But the minting looked off. What he'd found was a phantom, a coin long whispered about by collectors, but rarely seen. A misstrike from the Denver Mint that had gone undetected. Some say only a few dozen exist. Others believe fewer than 10 were ever released into circulation, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Glenn sent the coin to a small-time dealer in Kansas City just to check. The dealer took one look and froze. Then he called a grading expert. Within 24 hours, Glenn's coin was in a secure case, rushed to PCGS headquarters for authentication. The verdict? Mint State 68. A nearly flawless, high-grade coin with a dramatic double die reverse and ultra-rare mint error where the intricate engraving of King Kamehameha appears doubled, shadowed, and misaligned. But here's where it gets even stranger. The error was likely caused by a failing die that wasn't caught during production. And because it happened during the final year of the 50-state quarters program, when production was rushed, coins like this slipped through. Most were caught. A few got out. And those few are now the holy grail of modern quarter collecting. Collectors were shocked, dealers scrambled. Word spread like wildfire through coin forums and private Facebook groups. Auction houses started combing through their backlogs. And when Glenn's coin went to auction, the bids came fast, furious, and furious. One collector from New York, known only as JC, outbid them all with a final hammer price of $1,204, $600. A quarter that could have bought a gumball, just bought a house. But this isn't just Glenn's story. Another example surfaced a year later, this time in Arizona. A teenage girl found it in her father's coin jar. Same strange shimmer. Same doubled reverse. But this one had been scratched, slightly worn. Still, it sold for over $300,000. Why? Because demand had exploded. Everyone wanted a piece of the mystery, and here's the most chilling part: most of these error coins are still out there in change jars, in drawers, in forgotten piggy banks across the country. Because the 2008 Hawaii quarter was minted in the tens of millions, but only a few dozen had the error. Most people wouldn't even notice it. To the untrained eye, it's just a pretty quarter, but it's not. It's a doorway to a forgotten moment in U.S. minting history, and for a few lucky people, a ticket to life-changing fortune. But the key to unlocking that fortune is knowing exactly what to look for. Flip the coin and study the reverse. That's where the magic happens. King Kamehameha should appear strong, sharp, majestic. But in the $1 million version, his figure appears doubled, almost ghost-like. Look closely at his arm, at the rays stretching across the Pacific. You'll notice slight shadows, signs of a double die reverse. Check the condition. The most valuable version of this coin is in mint state, meaning it was never used in circulation. Crisp details. No scratches. No signs of wear. If you're holding one that looks like it just came from the bank, your heart should already be racing. Confirm the mint mark. It must have a clear D, not P for Philadelphia. This error only occurred at the Denver Mint. That tiny D is the difference between a dream and a dollar, but even circulated versions, slightly worn, have sold for tens of thousands. Many people find the coin and don't even know it because they miss the tiny details. They clean it. Or worse, they spend it. One man reportedly used one at a laundromat. Another was spotted in a casino slot machine. Dealers have watched in horror as $1 million coins slip through public hands, simply because no one took a second look. So now you know, this isn't just about the 2008 Hawaii quarter. It's about you, and what might be hiding in your change right now. The next life-changing discovery isn't locked in a museum, it's possibly sitting on your dresser, in your glove box, or under your couch cushion. Collectors dream of this coin. Dealers are on high alert. The hunt is very real, and now, you're part of it. So check your change. Examine every quarter. Look for the 2008 date, the Denver D, and the shadowed figure of a king whose image could crown you the next millionaire, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, for 25 cents, but just weeks later, it was auctioned for over $1 million, and here's the twist: it came from a regular man's pocket change. The only reason it didn't vanish forever, one tiny mistake in the coin's design, a flaw almost no one knows how to spot. Today, we're diving into one of the most overlooked state quarters ever minted, the 1999 Pennsylvania state quarter, a coin that could literally change your life, if you know exactly what to look for. It started with a phone call. A retired schoolteacher in Philadelphia had been collecting quarters for fun. She wasn't a dealer. Not a professional, she just liked the look of state quarters and threw her spares into an old mason jar. One day, while sorting through her collection, she noticed something odd. The quarter looked off of the outline of Pennsylvania's silhouette, was doubled. Almost like a shadow, the lettering was slightly blurred. The mint mark, a tiny P, was there, but something about the coin just didn't feel normal. She almost tossed it aside, but something made her keep it. 2 months later, she walked into a coin show in Harrisburg and walked out with a check for $4,78000. But that was just the beginning, because a second example of the same exact coin sold for over $1.30 million. But what made this simple 1999 P quarter, the second state quarter ever minted, worth a fortune? It comes down to a rare, almost mythical minting flaw: a double die obverse, where parts of the design are stamped twice, just slightly off alignment. On the Pennsylvania quarter, this means the word Pennsylvania, the state outline, and the Liberty figure appear ghosted, as if they have a shadow. Most people would never notice it. They're scrambling to find these now, because this error was never meant to exist. It was supposed to be caught at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, but in 1999, the mint was overwhelmed, pushing out millions of new state quarters to fuel the frenzy, and in that rush, a few rare mistakes slipped through. Mistakes like this. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A third example surfaced, not in a collector's shop or auction house, but inside a parking meter in downtown Pittsburgh. A sharp-eyed city worker noticed the same shadow effect. He turned it over to a dealer friend, just to be safe. His find had just sold privately for nearly $920,000. A random quarter pulled from a parking meter, almost worn smooth, was now part of one of the rarest modern coin collections in the country. The Pennsylvania state quarter had suddenly become a legend, and still, most people have no idea what to look for. Collectors were shocked that such a subtle error could be worth a fortune. Dealers were caught off guard. Many had passed over these coins for years now. They're buying up rolls of 1999p quarters, hoping to uncover the next hidden treasure. Most of these $1,000,000 specimens aren't perfect, some have scratches. Some are worn, because the value doesn't lie in the coin's shine. It lies in the mistake, but not just any mistake. It must be a double die obverse, confirmed by an expert grading service like PCGS or NGC, and it must carry the 1999 date with the P mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. The Denver version? Worthless in this case, potentially worth $1,000,000 or more. But why is this coin so emotional, so gripping? Because it represents possibility, hope, the chance that something ordinary isn't ordinary at all, that a forgotten coin in your kitchen drawer could pay off your mortgage. Or send your grandkids to college. Or let you finally retire on your terms. One man's pocket change became $1,000,000 miracle. And there could be more out there, hiding in plain sight. In fact, experts estimate that as many as 17 of these double-die Pennsylvania quarters may exist, but fewer than 5 have ever been confirmed. That means at least a dozen of these coins could still be floating through circulation, lost, unrecognized, waiting. And here's the part that sends chills down collectors' spines: the mint has never officially acknowledged the error. There are no records. No explanations. Which means this isn't just a coin, it's a mystery. A ghost of history hiding in your pocket. But how can you tell if you have the $1,000,000 version? It must say 1999. The mint mark must be a P, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Then look closely at the front, the obverse. Focus on the word Pennsylvania, the state outline, and the statue of Commonwealth. A blurred edge or shadow that doesn't match the rest? Don't spend it, and for the love of coins, don't let anyone talk you out of it. You could be holding a 1 in a million piece, literally. And here's what most people miss: the error is hard to photograph. Many online sellers and even collectors overlook it because it doesn't look dramatic in pictures, but in person, under a magnifier or good lighting, it's unmistakable. So dig through your coin jars. Look at the change in your glove box. So flip through every 1999 quarter you can find, because this isn't just a collector's dream, it's a real, tangible chance to rewrite your financial future with one forgotten coin. And if history is any guide, these rare 1999p Pennsylvania quarters are only getting more valuable, because as more are found, more are locked away in private collections, never to be seen again. And someday soon, you'll hear that another one surfaced, and once again, the headlines will explode. Ordinary quarter sells for $1.3 million. And you'll wonder, did I have that coin in my hand and let it slip away? Don't make that mistake. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1.5 million. It was sitting unnoticed in a dusty jar of pocket change, a 2000p South Carolina quarter, the kind millions of people have handled, dropped, and forgotten. But this one held a secret no one saw coming. A man in Pennsylvania found it by pure accident. He was sorting through coins to roll for the bank, just trying to get his drawers in order. But something about this quarter felt different. The shine. The rim. A tiny imperfection he couldn't quite explain. He almost tossed it aside, but curiosity made him look closer. And what he saw changed everything, because this wasn't just any state quarter. This was a rare, elusive, almost mythical error, a coin struck with a hidden flaw that even seasoned collectors thought didn't exist. And when word got out, collectors were stunned. Dealers started whispering. Auction houses were flooded with calls. And just months later, this humble state quarter would shatter expectations, selling for up to $1.4 million. But how does an everyday 2000p South Carolina quarter, worth just 25 cents on paper, turn into a $1,000,000 miracle? The answer lies in a mysterious twist of history, and a minting mistake that should have never happened, because in the year 2000, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. The new state quarters were exploding in popularity. Millions of Americans were collecting. Kids, retirees, even Wall Street bankers were hoarding rolls. Every release became a national event, but behind the scenes, the Philadelphia Mint was stretched thin. Machines ran day and night. Dies were pushed past their limits. Quality control teams were overwhelmed. And in the rush to meet demand, something slipped through. A batch of South Carolina quarters, minted in Philadelphia, was struck using a misaligned die. On some of these coins, the design was slightly off-center. But others had a far more valuable flaw. The coin enters the press, is struck once, but instead of being ejected like normal, it shifts slightly and is hit again. A ghostly echo of the state's design. Overlapping palmetto trees. Shadowy outlines of the Carolina wren. An eerie doubling of the words South Carolina that seems to shimmer under the light, and even more astonishing, some were struck on the wrong metal entirely. A handful of 2000p South Carolina quarters were minted not on standard clad planchets, but on rare transitional blanks left over from earlier coin series, like the Susan B. Anthony dollar or the Sacagawea. These hybrid coins weren't supposed to exist. And yet, a few slipped through, and when they do appear, they don't just make news. They make history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because once the Pennsylvania man's discovery hit the market, coin experts began digging. Auction houses pulled old records. Forums lit up. And what they found was staggering. Another collector in Florida had unknowingly sold one of these ultra-rare 2000p error quarters years ago, for just $10. He had no idea what he'd let go. Meanwhile, a retired teacher in Ohio had one sitting in a drawer untouched since 2000. When she saw the news, she checked her stash, sent it in for grading, and nearly fainted when the call came back. MS-67. Verified double strike. Transitional error. Auction value? Over $1 million, she wept on the phone. I thought it was just spare change, she said. I had no idea it could change my life. That's the power of this coin, you see. No one knows exactly how many of these flawed South Carolina quarters were minted. Some experts believe fewer than 20 exist. Others think there could be hundreds scattered in jars, drawers, glove compartments, waiting to be found. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the same could happen to you, but to spot it, you have to know what to look for, because the 2000p South Carolina quarter is one of the most deceptive in the entire state series. On the surface, it looks perfectly normal. George Washington's profile on the obverse, the state's symbols on the reverse, the palmetto tree, the Carolina wren, the outline of the state itself, but hidden in the details is where the treasure lies. The mint mark. You want a clear, sharp P for Philadelphia on the obverse, right beside Washington's ponytail. No mint mark? Move on. D mark? That's Denver, not the jackpot. Check the alignment. Is the reverse slightly rotated from the front? That's your first clue of a double strike. South Carolina 1788. If there's any shadowing, doubling, or ghost letters, you might be holding something extraordinary. Examine the palmetto tree. Is there a faint second outline? Two branches where there should be one. If the coin feels heavier, has a slightly different ring when dropped on a table, or doesn't match other quarters in color or tone, you may be holding a rare transitional planchet. Collectors are begging to get their hands on these, and grading companies are giving them top scores. MS-66, MS-67, even a rumored MS-68, which can drive the price into the $1 million range. But there's one common mistake most people make: they assume all error coins are. Dramatic truth is, the most valuable errors are often subtle. The tiniest shift. The faintest doubling. A hidden metal blend. And you've passed up $1 million without even knowing. So check your coins. Every South Carolina quarter from 2000 with a P mint mark deserves a second look, because even though these coins were minted in the millions, only a microscopic fraction bear the rare double strike or wrong metal error, and for those few, the payoff is life-changing. Collectors have flown across the country just to inspect one. Auction houses have had to add extra security. In one case, a private buyer from Texas offered cash and a brand new pickup truck just to get his hands on one before it hit the public market, because with every new discovery, the legend of the 2000p South Carolina error quarter grows bigger, and the race to find another heats up. Right now, someone out there is unknowingly holding $1 million coin in their change jar. It might be sitting under a car seat, inside an old wallet, or waiting in a bankroll on a dusty shelf. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold, disbelieving when another appeared. And now, they're watching every corner of the country, because every time a 2000p South Carolina quarter surfaces with these hidden traits, the value explodes, and the next one could be worth even more. Look for the 2000 date and the P mint mark. Inspect both sides under light. Look for any doubling, especially in the state outline, the palmetto tree, and the words South Carolina or the palmetto state. Check the weight and sound. If the metal feels odd or rings differently, you may have a rare planchet. If you're unsure, get it graded. Professional grading is the difference between spare change and a 6 or 7 figure payday, because this coin, this exact quarter, has sold for up to $1.4 million, and it wasn't found in a museum. It wasn't pulled from a vault. It came from everyday people. Ordinary drawers. Forgotten stashes. And what they held was anything but ordinary. So check your change, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.